She brought her pregnancy here so pity would cover her crime.
Ese's antenatal papers spilled from her torn bag. So did the dismissal letter that had already destroyed her name. "I called before coming," Ese said, breathless. "I only asked for a receipt." Halima laughed. "A receipt? From us? Woman, thank God security has not thrown you into the gutter." Then the lift doors opened. Dare Williams stepped out in a bright cobalt suit and froze. His eyes moved from the wallet to the untouched 183,500, then to the company letter trembling in Ese's hand. What he read next did not only expose a lie, it threatened his entire empire. Do not leave this story halfway. Comment your location and local time below, subscribe, and stay with us, because the question Dare asked next changed Ese's life forever. For one long second, nobody moved. The lobby of Williams Urban Logistics had been prepared for celebration that Tuesday morning. White orchids stood in tall glass vases. A wall of television screens carried the words "Dignity in Transit" in blue and gold. Journalists, contractors, senior managers, and invited guests had gathered for the launch of a welfare program Dare Williams was expected to announce before noon. Now every camera had turned away from the stage. They were facing Ese. She stood with one hand beneath her heavy stomach, and the other held tightly in Marcus Adebayo's grip. Her slippers were wet from the morning rain. The hem of her orange dress carried a dark stain from the gutter outside. Her light blue headscarf had slipped backwards, exposing the tired lines around her face. Yet her eyes were clear. Dare walked towards her slowly. He did not ask Halima what had happened. He did not look at Marcus. He crouched and began gathering the items from the floor himself. A black debit card, a silver access card, his national identity card, a folded hospital receipt, the old photograph of his mother smiling beneath a mango tree 26 years earlier. Then the cash. He counted it once, but a 183,500, exactly what had been inside. Halima forced a nervous smile. "Sir, we have the situation under control. Security caught her before she could release her arm," Dare said. Marcus hesitated. Dare looked up. Now, Marcus opened his fingers at once. Ese rubbed the red marks on her wrist. She did not thank Dare. She bent to collect her medical papers, but another hand reached them first. Dare picked up the dismissal letter, Metroholstrefis, Limited, his subsidiary. His signature was printed at the bottom as chairman of the holding group, though he had never seen the document before. Reason for termination: gross misconduct and suspected misappropriation of company funds. Employee: Ese Nwosu. Date: the 14th of April. Dare read the line twice. "Who signed this decision?" he asked. Silence spread through the lobby. Halima's smile disappeared. Dare stood and held the letter up. "I asked a question. Who signed the decision to dismiss this woman?" Halima cleared her throat. "Metro Hall is under regional operations, sir. That would fall under Mr. Tayo Okoro's office. But this is not the proper place to discuss an internal disciplinary matter." Ese gave a dry laugh. Everybody turned to her. "Not the proper place?" she said. "But this lobby was proper enough to call me a thief." A murmur moved through the crowd. Halima stiffened. "Mind your tone." "My tone," Ese repeated. "Madam, you opened my bag in front of strangers. You poured out my antenatal records. You said my pregnancy was a costume for begging. What kind of tone should I use to thank you?" Halima's face tightened. Dare looked from one woman to the other. "Why did she come here?" The receptionist, a young woman named Patience, who had been shrinking behind the marble desk, raised one shaking hand. "Sir, she called the main line at 9:08 a.m. She said she found your wallet near CMS bus stop. I checked the access card number and told her to bring it. She asked whether we would give her a written acknowledgement. I told her yes. Dare turned to Halima, so she was invited. Sir, we did not know whether her story was true. A woman from the street entered a high-security building carrying your private property. We had to protect you. By accusing her before checking the cameras? Halima said nothing. Ese reached for the wallet in Dare's hand. Marcus stepped forward again, but Dare lifted one palm. Ese stopped before touching it. Sir, please give me the paper. What paper? The acknowledgement. Let it state that I returned your wallet. Let it state the money was complete. I do not want anybody to change the story tomorrow. Something in her voice made Dare pause. This was not the request of somebody waiting for praise. It was the request of somebody who had learned that truth without documentation could be buried. Dare looked towards the legal director standing near the stage. Prepare it now. Halima moved closer. Sir, the press is here. Let us take this matter upstairs. We can give her something and settle it quietly. Easy's chin rose. Give me something. Halima lowered her voice. Do not pretend you walked all this way for paper. Tell us what you want, and let us all move on. I want what I said. Everybody wants money. Maybe, but not everybody sells the same thing. The words landed hard. A cameraman lowered his camera and stared. Dare glanced at the red marks on Ease's wrist. Did anybody search her before I arrived? Marcus answered quickly. Standard security procedure, sir. In the middle of the lobby. We believed there was an immediate risk. What risk? Marcus looked at Halima. That small movement told Dare more than the answer would have done. Preserve every camera recording from 8:45 a.m., Dare said to the legal director. Lobby, entrance, security room, and reception. Nobody deletes anything. Nobody edits anything. Halima folded her arms. Sir, surely you are not allowing this woman's performance to derail the launch. Dare looked at the giant words behind her. Dignity in transit. Then he looked at Ease's papers scattered across the floor. The launch is already derailed, he said. We are standing beneath the word dignity while a pregnant woman is being treated like dirt. Ese swayed. At first, only Patience noticed. Madam, are you all right? Ese pressed one hand against the desk. Her breathing had become shallow. I am fine. She was not. A nurse attached to the event hurried forward. She checked Ese's pulse, then asked how many weeks pregnant she was. 32. When did you last eat? Ese did not answer. The nurse repeated the question. Yesterday afternoon. Dare's jaw tightened. Halima whispered, This is becoming theatre. Ese heard her. She turned slowly. Madam, hunger is not theatre when it is inside your own body. The nurse took Ese's blood pressure and immediately frowned. She needs assessment now. I am not going anywhere until I receive the acknowledgement, Ese said. The legal director returned with a printed document. He read it aloud. It stated that Ese Nwosu had delivered Dare Williams's wallet at 9:41 a.m., that the wallet contained all listed cards, identification documents, personal items, and Mund 183 through 500 in cash, and that no item was missing. Ese read every line before signing. Then she asked for a copy. Only after the paper was folded into her bag did she agree to sit in the wheelchair the nurse had brought. Dare walked beside her towards the exit. She looked up at him. You do not have to follow me, sir. This happened in my building. It also happened in your company before today. He knew she meant the letter. At the ambulance door, he said, I will look into it. Ese's mouth curved without humor. That is what powerful people say when they want poor people to go away calmly. The nurse helped her inside. Dare stood in the rain as the doors closed. For the first time that morning, the billionaire did not know what to say. The launch was cancelled. By 11:30 a.m., social media was already boiling. One video showed Halima pointing at Ese while money lay on the floor. Another showed Marcus dragging the woman's bag from her shoulder. A third clip began only after Dare arrived and made him look like a hero, entering at the perfect moment. That was the version Halima wanted. She summoned her communications team to the 22nd floor. "We release a statement," she said. Chairman intervened when a distressed woman entered the premises. She was given medical support. "We praise her for returning the wallet. We do not mention security misconduct until the internal review is complete." One junior officer raised a careful hand. "Ma, there are longer videos online. People heard what you said." Halima's eyes hardened, then drowned them with the right version. "Which right version?" "The version that protects 6,000 jobs." Nobody answered. Halima leaned forward. "Listen to me. Reputation is not vanity. Reputation pays salaries. Reputation keeps contracts. One uncontrolled story can destroy a company. Do not start behaving like children, because the internet is emotional." On the other side of the building, Dare sat in his office with the dismissal letter on his desk. His head of legal, Mrs. Danjuma, stood opposite him. "What do we know about Metro Hall?" he asked. "It handles 3 warehouse operations and most of our temporary labor contracts in Lagos. Regional director is Tayo Okoro. There were no major red flags in the last audit." "No major red flags," Dare repeated. "Was this woman given a disciplinary hearing?" "I cannot confirm yet." "Was she charged?" "No record of a criminal complaint has been found." "Then why does the letter say suspected misappropriation?" Mrs. Danjuma shook her head. "We need the file." Dare pressed the intercom. "Get Tayo Okoro here by 2 o'clock, and bring the complete personnel record for Ese Nwosu. Not a summary, everything, at 1:47 p.m. Tayo entered the office wearing a charcoal suit and ruby-red tie. He was broad-shouldered, polished, and calm. He had worked for the group for 11 years. His reports were always clean. His warehouses rarely missed targets. His managers praised him for discipline. Dare had trusted him. Tayo placed a thick file on the desk. "Sir, I heard about the unfortunate incident. Ese Nwosu is not a reliable person. She was dismissed after money disappeared from operational cash. We chose not to prosecute because she was pregnant." Dare opened the file. "Compassionate of you." Tayo missed the coldness in his voice. "We try, sir." "Where is the hearing transcript?" "There was an emergency investigation." "That was not my question." Tayo shifted. "The process was handled locally. Who witnessed her taking the money?" "No one directly. But she had access. So did others." Her conduct became suspicious after she raised several confused complaints about payroll. Dare looked up. "What complaints?" Tayo's eyelids flickered. "Normal staff grievances. She was under pressure. Pregnancy can affect judgment." Mrs. Danjuma's pen stopped moving. Dare closed the file. "Tayo, from this moment, you are not to access the Metro Hall payroll system, personnel archive, finance server, or warehouse administration offices." Tayo stared. "Sir? You will remain available to an independent audit." "Independent audit? Because a dismissed employee returned your wallet?" "No. Because you just described a payroll complaint as pregnancy confusion." Tayo's face changed, only slightly. But Dare saw it. At Yaba Community Maternity Center, Ese lay on a narrow bed while a doctor monitored her blood pressure. The baby's heartbeat was steady. Ese listened to it through the machine and shut her eyes. She had spent the previous night in a church storage room with 4 other women. Before that, she had slept 2 nights in the corridor behind a food canteen after the owner allowed her to stay when customers had gone. She carried everything she still owned in one torn bag. A social worker entered after the examination. "My name is Uch George," she said. The hospital asked me to speak with you about accommodation. Ese turned her face away. I do not need charity. Good. Because I did not bring charity. Ese looked at her. Uche sat beside the bed. She wore a cream blouse under a navy jacket and spoke without pity. I brought options: temporary housing, legal support, antenatal follow-up. You will choose what you need. You can reject the rest. Who sent you? The Billionaire? No. This center refers women to our program every week. Mr. Williams's office called the hospital, but they do not control my organization. Ese studied her face. Will they know where I stay? Not unless you give permission. That answer softened something inside her. Uche handed her a cup of water. Tell me what happened before today. Ese stared at the ceiling. Then she began. 3 months earlier, she had still rented one room in Mushin. It was small, but it was hers. She had a foam mattress, a second-hand fan, and a plastic table where she checked payroll records late at night. She had worked at Metro Hall for 4 years. Not as a manager. Not as anybody important. Her title was Payroll Control Assistant. She entered staff hours, matched bank schedules, and flagged discrepancies before payment approval. Most people noticed her only when their salary was wrong. Ese noticed everything. One Friday, while reconciling temporary workers' overtime, she found 7 accounts receiving identical amounts, although the workers attached to them had not signed in for months. She checked the previous cycle. The same accounts appeared. Then she found deductions labeled safety equipment recovery, transport adjustment, and emergency levy. None existed in the employment contracts. At first, she thought it was an error. She printed the schedules and took them to her supervisor. The supervisor closed the office door. My sister. Leave this matter, but 63 people are affected. Did any of them complain to you? They may not understand the deductions. Then thank God they are not disturbing us. Do your work. Ese did not leave it. She compared 21 months of records. The figures grew worse. Overtime vanished. Names were duplicated. Bank accounts were changed without signed forms. Some workers had lost almost 1/4 of their pay. She sent a report through the company's whistleblowing portal. 11 days later, Tayo called her into his office. He placed one sheet before her. Sign this adjustment. Ese read it. The adjustment would erase more than 3,000 hours of unpaid overtime by classifying them as data entry mistakes. I cannot sign, sir. Tayo leaned back. You cannot? The numbers are not correct. Do you own this company? No, sir. Then do not carry the company on your head. Sign. Ese pushed the paper back. The following Monday, 740,000 was reported missing from the operational cash account. By Wednesday, her access card stopped working. By Friday, she was dismissed. They did not allow you to respond? Uche asked. They asked me to write a statement. I asked to see the evidence. They said refusal to write meant admission. Did you keep copies? Some. Where? Ese's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears away. My landlord locked my room while I was at antenatal clinic. My things were outside when I returned. Rain had entered the carton. I saved what I could. Was there a court order? Ese laughed bitterly. Court order? He had padlock. Uche took a slow breath. And your final salary? Held because of the investigation that never happened. Family? My mother is dead. My father's people said I brought shame by becoming pregnant before marriage. The baby's father left after he lost his job. He stopped taking calls. Uche did not say sorry, she said. You have been carrying too much alone. Ese looked at her. People say that after the load has already broken your back. That evening, Dare received the first report from internal legal. There was no hearing record, no signed witness statement, no police complaint. No audit report proving Ese took money. There was only a typed allegation, the dismissal letter, and an approval email from Tayo's office. Dare called Mrs. Danjuma. "Bring in an external forensic firm," he said. "No one who has worked for us before. They report to the board audit committee, not to me. You understand what that may uncover? That is the reason for doing it." He looked through the glass wall at the city below. Lagos lights spread into the distance like gold scattered on dark cloth. For years, he had believed that building a successful company meant he was creating opportunity. Jobs, contracts, growth. He had not imagined that a woman could be pushed out of her room by decisions carrying his company's name, while he sat 22 floors above the evidence. Or perhaps he had simply never asked. That thought disturbed him more. The following morning, Ese woke before sunrise in a temporary room at the Women's Transition Center in Surulere. The room was plain. One narrow bed, one metal wardrobe, a small window facing the back wall of a pharmacy. Yet the door locked from inside, and nobody could throw her belongings into the rain. She sat on the mattress and listened to the city wake. A Danfo horn screamed somewhere beyond the compound. A woman called out the price of bread. Rainwater dripped steadily from the roof gutter. Ese touched her stomach. "We are still here," she whispered. Her phone had been dead for 2 days. Uche had arranged a charger and a basic line so the hospital could reach her. When the phone finally came on, 43 messages entered at once. Some were from former colleagues. Most were not kind. "You planned this thing well. So Billionaire has noticed you now. Pregnancy and poverty are powerful business." One message contained a link. Ese opened it. The video showed her walking into the Williams building with Dare's wallet in her hand. It cut to Marcus holding her bag. Then it jumped to Dare arriving. A caption beneath the clip asked whether the homeless woman had first taken the wallet and later returned it after seeing the owner's identity. The clip had already been shared thousands of times. Ese's chest tightened. She watched it again. The part where she handed the wallet to reception was missing. Her phone call was not mentioned. The acknowledgement paper did not appear. Someone had carved the truth into a different shape. Uche knocked and entered with bread, boiled eggs, and tea. "You have seen it," she said. Ese placed the phone face down. "They have started. Do not reply while you are angry. So I should keep quiet again?" "I did not say keep quiet. I said, do not give people a sentence they can cut into another weapon." Ese looked away. Uche placed the food on the table. "Your lawyer will issue a factual statement. We will preserve the video. We will request the full recording. Eat first." "I am not hungry. Your blood pressure disagrees." Ese did not move. Uche sat opposite her. "Listen to me. Protecting yourself is not weakness. Eating is not surrender. Resting is not allowing them to win." Ese's eyes burned. "Everybody keeps telling poor people to be strong," she said. "Strong when salary is missing. Strong when rent is due. Strong when shame is public. How long can one person be strong before strength becomes another punishment?" Uche was quiet for a moment. "Then do not be strong this morning," she said. "Just eat 1 egg." Ese laughed despite herself. It was small, but it was the first laugh that had left her in weeks. At Williams Urban Logistics, the external auditors arrived at 8:15 a.m. The team was led by a forensic accountant named Kola Daniels. He carried no dramatic briefcase and made no speeches. He requested server images, bank files, payroll approval logs, access records, and all communications concerning Ese's complaint. Tayo protested immediately. "You cannot freeze a live operation because one former employee is making noise," he said during the opening meeting. Kola did not look up from his list. "We are not freezing the operation. We are preserving records. Same difference. Trucks must move. Labor must be paid. Then you should support a quick preservation process. Tayo looked at Dare. Sir, you know what this will do to morale. Dare sat at the end of the table. I am more concerned about what missing wages have already done to morale. There is no proof of missing wages. Then the audit will help you. Tayo's jaw tightened. Halima sat 2 seats away in an emerald suit. Her posture was composed, but one finger tapped against her notebook. Kola turned to her. We also require every communication received through the ethics portal concerning Metro Hall during the last 2 years. That portal is managed by compliance. Some complaints were routed through reputation management when they contained media risk terms. Halima stopped tapping. Who told you that? The system map. She smiled faintly. Those items are screened for reputational exposure. That does not mean my department investigates them. Who decides where they go next? My team applies the routing policy. We will need that policy. Of course. She wrote something in her notebook, then tore out the page after the meeting. By afternoon, Tayo was making calls from a private phone. He first called his finance manager at Metro Hall. Remove all draft schedules from the shared folders. Sir, access has been locked. Use the local machines. They said nobody should touch anything. Do you want to lose your job? The finance manager lowered his voice. Sir, there are auditors in the office. Then behave like you are cleaning old duplicates. Do not panic. His next call was to Halima. We need to control this before Dare turns one noisy woman into a crusade. Halima stood beside her office window. Do not call me about operational matters. You routed her complaint to containment. I routed an unverified allegation according to policy. You sent me a message. Silence, Tayo continued. If I fall, your hands are not clean. Halima's voice became cold. Do not threaten me. I am reminding you that memory can become very clear under pressure. She ended the call. For the first time since the incident, fear entered her face. Ese met her lawyer 2 days later. Barrister Lola Johnson worked with a labor rights clinic in Yaba. She was direct, patient and unimpressed by wealthy people. She spread Ese's surviving documents across a table. You kept more than most employees would, Lola said. Not enough. Enough to ask useful questions. There were printouts of 3 payroll cycles, a copy of Ese's whistleblowing submission, 2 bank schedules, a handwritten list of employee identification numbers, the dismissal letter, photographs of documents taken with Ese's old phone. Lola pointed at the copy of the complaint. You reported 17 bank accounts linked to inactive employees. Yes. Why? These 17. They repeated in every cycle. The names changed, but the account numbers did not. Lola looked at her. That is serious. I know. Did you send any material to your personal email? Ese hesitated. Some working sheets. I was finishing the reconciliation at home. Do you still have access? My phone was damaged in the rain, but the email may be there. They logged into the account from Lola's laptop. The inbox opened slowly. Ese searched Metro Hall. Nothing. She searched payroll. 3 old messages appeared. One carried an attachment named Temp Recon Smark Demel 2. Ese pressed both hands over her mouth. Lola opened it. The spreadsheet contained employee codes, scheduled hours, paid hours, deduction categories, and bank references. It was not enough to prove theft, but it showed patterns that could be compared against company files. Do not forward this to anybody, Lola said. We preserve it properly first. Ese nodded. Lola created a forensic copy in Ese's presence and documented the date, time, and source account. Why all this? Ese asked. Because evidence is not only about what is true. It is also about proving that nobody changed it. Ese thought of the acknowledgement she had demanded for the wallet. Paper protects people, she said. Sometimes, when the people reading it are willing to be honest. The audit widened. Kohler's team compared Ese's spreadsheet with bank records obtained through the company's authorized accounts. They found that several employee names had indeed changed, while the beneficiary accounts remained the same. 3 accounts belonged to companies rather than individuals. The companies had ordinary names: Harbor View Supplies, Crown Axis Consulting, Bright Field Transport Support. None had visible offices at the addresses listed. One address led to a closed tailoring shop in Ageji. Another was a residential flat occupied by Tayo's cousin. The third was registered to a man who had served as best man at Tayo's wedding. Kohler did not accuse anybody yet. He followed the money. Meanwhile, Halima's communications unit issued a carefully worded statement about the lobby incident. It praised DARE's swift humanitarian response. It described Ese as a distressed visitor. It said security acted out of caution, and that all facts were under review. It did not mention Halima's insults. It did not mention the search. It did not apologize. Ese read the statement in Lola's office. "They have made me sound like a confused woman who wandered inside," she said. Lola nodded. "Would you like to respond publicly?" "Yes." "Then facts only." Together, they drafted 5 sentences. Ese stated that she had found the wallet beneath a bench near CMS at approximately 8:36 a.m. She had called the company before arriving. She had handed the wallet to reception. The contents were confirmed complete. She had been searched and accused publicly before the relevant recordings were reviewed. No insult, no threat, no demand for sympathy. The statement spread faster than Halima's version. Then Patience, the receptionist, made a decision that changed the direction of the public conversation. She sent a copy of the call log to the investigators. She also gave a signed statement confirming Ese's account. Halima called her upstairs. "You understand that releasing internal records can be misconduct. I released them to the authorized audit team. You are a receptionist. You do not decide what is relevant." They asked for everything concerning the incident. Halima walked around the desk. "Young woman, do not confuse attention with importance. The internet will forget your name next week. This company will still be here. Be careful which side you stand on." Patience's hands trembled, but her voice did not. "I thought the company's side was the truth, Ma." Halima stared at her. "Go back to your desk." Patience left with her heart beating painfully. That evening, she wrote down every word of the conversation and emailed it to the audit team. At the transition center, Ese was learning how difficult safety could feel after instability. The first night, she slept with her bag beneath her head. The second night, she woke at 2 a.m. and checked whether the door was still locked. The third night, she hid half her bread in the wardrobe because some part of her still believed food might disappear. Uche noticed but did not embarrass her. She arranged an appointment with a counselor and explained that housing insecurity often trained the body to expect danger even after danger had paused. Ese resisted at first. "I am not mad. Nobody said you are." "Then why counselor?" "Because being treated badly for months can leave injuries nobody sees." Ese squeezed her face. "Talking will not pay rent." "No, but fear can make you reject help, sign bad agreements, or return to unsafe places. We handle both the money problem and the mind problem." The phrase stayed with Ese. Both problems. Not one pretending to be the other. Uche also helped her apply for emergency maternal support through a community program. The support was modest: transport vouchers, clinic fees, basic food assistance. Nothing that could turn her into a princess overnight. But it kept her from choosing between antenatal appointments and eating. When Dare asked to visit, E refused. "Tell him I am not part of his reputation repair," she said. Uche delivered the message exactly. Dare accepted it. Instead, he sent a written request through Lola asking permission to cover the medical assessment caused by the lobby incident, without requiring Ease to sign any release or confidentiality agreement. Lola reviewed the letter. "This one is properly written," she said. "No hidden waiver. Ease read it twice. If I accept, they will say he bought me. If you reject, the bill remains yours. The question is not what strangers will say. The question is whether the payment is tied to your silence." "It is not?" "No," Ease agreed. She wrote beneath her signature, "Acceptance of medical cost does not settle any employment, privacy, or dignity claim." Lola smiled when she saw it. "You are learning. I learned before. That is why they removed me." 5 days into the audit, Kola called Dare to a private meeting. "There are irregularities," he said. "How serious?" "Serious enough that we have expanded the review to 21 months. Dare sat very still. "Amount? Too early for a final figure. Current unsupported transfers exceed 26 million. We also see wage deductions without contractual authority. How many workers?" "At least 63. Possibly more." Dare looked at the table. Ease's number. 63. Her complaint had been precise. "What happened to her report?" he asked. "We are tracing the routing." "Trace it faster." Kola closed his notebook. "Mr. Williams, there is another issue." "What?" "Your ethics portal was designed so reports containing terms like journalist, media, protest, or regulator were copied to corporate reputation. That department could recategorize them before compliance review." Dare frowned. "Why?" "To prevent malicious complaints from triggering external disclosure." "Who approved that?" Kola slid a policy document across the table. Dare saw his own electronic approval at the bottom. He remembered the meeting, barely. 3 years earlier, during rapid expansion, a consultant had presented dozens of policies. His executives had recommended approval. He had clicked through them between calls. The signature was his. "I approved this," he said. "Yes." Dare sat back. It would have been easy to blame Halima alone. Easier still to blame Tayo. But the system that allowed a reputation department to intercept an ethics complaint existed because he had approved it without understanding its effect. He had not stolen anybody's wage. He had built the corridor through which the theft could hide. That night, he went home late. His house in Ikoyi was silent. Staff had left dinner covered on the dining table. He did not touch it. He took the old photograph from his wallet. His mother had raised him after his father died. She had sold fabric at Balagan Market and kept every receipt in a biscuit tin. When customers owed her money, she wrote the amount in a blue notebook. "People forget promises," she used to tell him. "Ink does not forget." Dare looked at the photograph and thought of Ease asking for a receipt before she would enter the ambulance. He understood her now, not fully, but enough to feel ashamed. The next morning, he called a board meeting. "We will protect the audit from management interference," he said. "All relevant officers will surrender access. Temporary workers will be paid through the normal cycle, but no historical record will be altered." One board member objected. "This could affect the federal transport bid." "It may." "Then why are we not containing it until after the award?" Dare looked across the table. "Because if we win a public contract while hiding stolen wages, we are not protecting the company. We are expanding the harm." Another member leaned forward. "Be practical, Dare. Every large organization has payroll disputes. This is not a dispute if somebody manufactured employees and collected their salaries. We do not know that yet. Then we will know." The room went quiet. Dare continued. And we will not call truth a threat simply because it arrives at an inconvenient time. That sentence reached Halima before lunch. So did the news that the board had authorized direct access to archived mailboxes. She called the head of information technology. "Some of my old folders contain privileged reputation strategies," she said. "They cannot be handed over without review. The audit order includes them. I am instructing you as executive director. The board instruction is above mine, Ma." Halima ended the call. Her breathing quickened. She opened her archived mailbox and searched Ese Nwosu. The complaint appeared. Received at 4:22 p.m. on the 3rd of April. Opened at 7:06 a.m. on the 4th of April. 11 minutes of active viewing. Then her reply to Tayo. "This allegation touches payroll manipulation and may affect bid integrity. Resolve the employee issue before tender review. Avoid written escalation until facts are controlled." Halima stared at the words. At the time, they had sounded efficient. Now they sounded like a door being locked. She selected the email. Her finger hovered over delete. Then she remembered that archives had already been preserved. Deleting it now would only create another trail. She closed the laptop. Tayo was less careful. He went to Metro Hall's Apapa warehouse after midnight, using an emergency operations key that had not yet been disabled. A night guard saw him enter the payroll office. "Sir, auditors sealed this place. I am regional director. There is a payment issue." The guard stepped aside. Tayo opened the local finance computer and connected a portable drive. He began deleting draft schedules, old approval sheets, and scanned account change forms. He believed the files existed only on that machine. He was wrong. The system had started mirroring deletions to the forensic server the moment the audit began. At 12:43 a.m., Kola received an automated alert. At 12:51 a.m., the company's IT security team remotely locked the machine. Tayo stared at the frozen screen. Then the office lights came on. Dare stood in the doorway with Kola and 2 members of corporate security. Tayo rose slowly. "Sir, I can explain." Dare looked at the portable drive in his hand. "Then start with why you came here after midnight." "There was a payroll error. Workers must be paid. By deleting records, I was removing duplicates." Kola stepped forward. "The files you selected include account amendment forms, whistleblower routing logs, and historical payment schedules." Tayo's eyes moved towards the window. There was nowhere to go. Dare's voice remained low, hand over the drive. Tayo held it tighter. "Sir, you are allowing one street woman to destroy people who built this company with you." Dare's expression changed. "Her housing status does not change your files. She is bitter. She was careless. She made mistakes, and now she is using you. Hand over the drive." Tayo threw it onto the desk. "You think temporary labor is clean business? These people disappear. They use wrong accounts. They beg for advances. Managers must adjust things to keep operations moving. Did you take their money?" "I managed a difficult system." "That was not my question." Tayo said nothing. Dare turned to security. "Escort him out. Suspend him immediately. Preserve his company devices. Legal will determine the next steps." As Marcus's replacement officers moved forward, Tayo pointed at Dare. "When the contracts start falling, remember that you chose a stranger over your own people." Dare looked at him for a long moment. "No," he said. "I chose evidence over loyalty used as a hiding place." Tayo was led away, but he was not finished, not yet. 2 mornings later, Tayo called Ace from an unfamiliar number. She almost ignored it. Then she answered. "My sister," he said warmly, as if they had once been friends. "Hope no problem." Ese stood in the courtyard of the transition center, holding a cup of tea. The sound of his voice made her fingers cold. "What do you want?" Must we speak like enemies? I heard you are staying somewhere better now. I am happy for you. Say what you called to say, Tayo sighed. There has been misunderstanding on every side. You were under pressure. Management was under pressure. Mr. Williams is turning a small matter into war. Small matter? Payroll differences happen. Your dismissal can be corrected. You can receive your money and move on. Ese looked through the open gate. A woman was hanging baby clothes on a line. Another was sweeping the walkway. Ordinary morning sounds continued around her, but Taiso's voice pulled her back into his office. Sign this adjustment. Do you own the company? Do not call me again, she said. Wait, I have a proposal. I do not want it. You have not heard the amount? Ese ended the call. Her hand shook so badly that tea spilled onto the ground. Uche found her there. What happened? Ese told her. Uche did not advise her to be brave. She did not say the call was good news, because it proved Tayo was afraid. She said, we document it. Then you decide whether to engage through your lawyer. Lola contacted Tayo's representative and stated that all communication must pass through counsel. By afternoon, an invitation arrived for a settlement discussion. The offer was play 4, 7 million. More money than Ese had ever held at one time. It would clear medical costs, rent a decent flat, buy a bed, a refrigerator, baby supplies, and still leave savings. The figure sat on the page like an open door. But the agreement behind it was 18 pages long. It required Ese to state that she had misunderstood the payroll data. It described her dismissal as a lawful administrative decision. It required her to withdraw all complaints and never discuss Metro Hall, Williams Urban Logistics, Tayo, or the wallet incident. One clause said she acknowledged that she had initially acquired the chairman's wallet from an unknown third party. Ese read that line 3 times. They want me to say I did not find it, she said. Lola nodded. They want uncertainty around the cleanest proof of your character. Ese placed both hands on her stomach. The baby moved. What happens if I refuse? The audit continues. Your legal claims continue. There is no guarantee of how quickly you receive anything. And if I accept, you receive money within 5 days. You also give them the statement they need. Uch sat quietly at the far end of the table. She had come only because Ese asked her to. Ese looked at both women. Tell me what to do. Lola shook her head. No, my job is to explain the consequences. The choice must remain yours. Even when one choice is wrong, people under financial pressure make settlements every day. Accepting does not make you wicked. Refusing does not make you foolish. But you must know what each choice costs. Ese stood and walked to the window. Outside, buses crawled through traffic. A hawker balanced bottled water on her head. A man pushed a wheelbarrow loaded with oranges between cars. 7 million. For silence. For a sentence saying her own eyes had lied to her. She thought of the 63 workers. Some had borrowed money because overtime pay disappeared. One woman had once cried beside Easy's desk because a deduction left her unable to pay school fees for younger siblings. A loader named Sani had worked through an injured ankle because he believed missing one shift would bring another penalty. If he signed, the money would solve her emergency. It would also help Tayo bury theirs. She returned to the table. Reject it. Lola searched her face. Are you certain? No, he said honestly, but reject it. Tayo's lawyer requested one final meeting, supposedly to clarify terms. Lola agreed only if it took place in her office, with all attendees informed that the meeting room was monitored for security. Tayo came himself. He wore no tie this time. Sweat shone near his hairline. He sat across from Ese and pushed a revised document towards her. My sister, this is enough to start your life again. My life did not stop because you removed my access card. Do not speak like a child. You are about to give birth. Principals do not pay hospital bills. Neither does stolen overtime. Tayo's face hardened. Lola raised one hand. Mr. Okoro, address the legal proposal. He ignored her. Ease, think well. The chairman will get tired. Rich men enjoy rescue stories until the story becomes expensive. When contracts suffer, he will choose his company. Ease leaned back. Is that what Halima chose? Tayo went still. It lasted less than a second, but the camera caught it. Leave Halima out of this. You brought her name, not me. I said nothing about her. You said people choose the company. She saw my report, did she not? Tayo's mouth tightened. Sign the paper, Nob. He lowered his voice. Then take 7 million, and sign only the wallet statement. Say somebody handed it to you near CMS. Forget payroll. Forget dismissal. Just remove yourself from the center of this thing. Lola spoke clearly. Mr. Okoro, are you offering money in exchange for a false statement? I am offering a humane settlement. The wallet statement is false. Can she prove where she picked it? Ease looked at him. You are still hoping that a poor woman's truth becomes weak because nobody important watched it happen. Tayo stood. You will regret this. Lola did not raise her voice. The meeting is over. He left. The recording was preserved, copied and delivered to the forensic team. For the first time, the case was no longer only about old records. It included an attempt to purchase a false statement in the present. Yet Ease did not feel victorious. That night, she cried in the bathroom so the other residents would not hear. She cried for the flat she could have rented, for the soft baby mattress she had imagined, for the money she had pushed away while counting transport vouchers. Uche found her sitting on the closed toilet lid. You can still change your mind if the offer remains open, Uche said. Ease wiped her face. Why are you not telling me I did the right thing? Because doing the right thing can still hurt. Pretending otherwise would be another kind of dishonesty. Ease nodded slowly. That was the night she began to trust Uche completely. The auditors started interviewing workers. At first, almost nobody wanted to speak. Temporary staff had no union office inside the warehouse. Many contracts were renewed every 3 months. Supervisors reminded them that troublesome people did not return for the next cycle. One loader said his pay was correct even while his own bank statements showed repeated deductions. A cleaner said she could not remember who asked her to sign blank timesheets. A forklift operator refused to enter the interview room. Fear had made silence practical. Ease understood. She asked Lola to organize a meeting away from company property. Uche found a church hall in Ajigunle that could seat 50 people. The workers were told that attendance was voluntary, transport costs would be reimbursed, and no Williams manager would be present. Only 7 came. They sat far apart. Sani Bello, the injured loader, stared at the floor. Bisi Adeyemi, a cleaner, held a plastic folder against her chest. David Okafor, a forklift operator, kept asking whether names would be sent to management. Ease stood before them in a loose teal dress. She had prepared a speech. When she saw their faces, she folded the paper. I will not tell you that speaking is safe, she said. It should be safe. But all of us know that sometimes it is not. The room became still. I spoke. I lost my job. My salary was held. I lost my room. So I will not stand here and deceive you with courage talk. Sani looked up. Ease continued. What I can tell you is this. If we speak one by one, they can call each person confused. If we keep records, compare payslips, and show the same pattern, confusion becomes evidence. She held up a sample payslip with the personal details covered. Check your scheduled hours against paid hours. Check every deduction. Ask for the policy in writing. Do not sign blank paper. Photograph any document you are pressured to sign. Keep copies outside the workplace. And when you report, do not surrender your only evidence. Bisi slowly opened her folder. Inside were 16 payslips. I kept them because the figures were not balancing, she said. My supervisor said I was too educated for mop work. David removed folded bank statements from his pocket. Sani spoke last. They removed 8 hours every week and called it meal recovery, he said. But we did not receive food. The 7 workers gave statements. Then they called others. Within 4 days, 26 people had come forward. Within 9 days, 48 had provided records. The pattern became impossible to dismiss. Workers were told to sign blank attendance sheets at the beginning of a shift. Supervisors later entered reduced hours. Deductions appeared under names that sounded official, but had no contractual basis. Some accounts were altered after employees submitted bank changes, sending part of their wages elsewhere. The harm was not abstract. Sani had borrowed at high interest to pay rent. Bisi had delayed treatment for an infection. David's landlord had removed his door after 2 missed payments. One temporary worker had left Lagos entirely because he believed he could no longer survive there. Dare read the interview summaries late into the night. He recognized none of the names. That fact troubled him. Thousands of people worked beneath the Williams name, yet his world was filled with directors, bankers, ministers, and consultants. Workers appeared in reports as headcount, labor cost, and productivity. Not as people whose doors could be removed because a deduction had been invented. He called Kola. I want to visit the Apapa operation during a live shift. You have already been there with security. I saw an office after midnight. I want to see the work. If management knows you are coming, they will prepare. I agree. Kola considered it. We can place you with an external operational review team. No disguise story. You will use your real first name, but not your title. Workers must not be tricked into personal tests. Dare nodded. Good. 3 nights later, he entered the warehouse, wearing a navy coverall, safety boots, and a visitor badge marked Dare W. The night superintendent was told he was part of a process review from head office. Nobody rolled out a carpet. The air smelled of diesel, dust, and hot metal. Forklifts beeped between stacked pallets. Men lifted crates in humid air, while one industrial fan turned slowly above them. Dare spent the first hour near receiving. A supervisor handed a blank attendance sheet to 9 workers. Sign now. We fill time later. One worker hesitated. Oga, last week my hours reduced. The supervisor tapped the paper. Do you want work next month? The man signed. Dare wrote it down. Near loading bay 4, a pregnant contract worker stood for nearly 3 hours because the only chair had been removed from the floor. When she asked to sit for 10 minutes, a team lead told her pregnancy was not an operational instruction. Dare stepped forward. Is there no accommodation policy? The team lead laughed. Head office people like policy. Here we move goods. What happens if she collapses? Then clinic will carry her. The words struck Dare harder than any insult directed at him could have done. At 2:20 a.m., workers queued to collect protective gloves. A storekeeper demanded 1,500 cash from each temporary worker for replacement pairs, though the amount was already deducted from payroll. Dare asked for a receipt. The storekeeper squeezed his face. Receipt for gloves? My brother, are you new to Nigeria? Yes, Dare said quietly. Maybe I am new to this Nigeria. At 3:05 a.m., he checked the ethics notice board. The whistleblowing number printed there did not connect. The email address bounced. A faded poster promised 0 tolerance for retaliation. Somebody had pinned a food vendor's price list over half of it. Dare took a photograph. By dawn, anger had settled inside him like iron. But so had clarity. Tayo was not one rotten branch. Supervisors, finance officers, and contractors had learned that squeezing people at the bottom produced better numbers at the top. Managers received bonuses for keeping labor costs low. Nobody asked how they did it, as long as trucks moved and reports stayed green. Dare had rewarded the result. The system had supplied the cruelty. When he returned to headquarters, Halima was waiting outside his office. "You went to a papa dressed as a process reviewer," she said. "Yes, do you understand how reckless that was? If somebody photographed you, the story becomes billionaire pretends to be worker. I did not pretend to be a worker. You concealed your position. I joined an authorized review. The distinction will not survive online." Dare opened his office door. "You still think the worst part of this is how it will look. My job is to think about consequences. No. Your job became stopping consequences from reaching the people who caused them." Halima followed him inside. "That is unfair. Was Ese's report sent to you?" Her face remained calm. "Many reports are copied to my department. Did you read it? I reviewed the reputational exposure. Did you send it to compliance? The allegation was incomplete. Did you contact Tayo?" Halima looked towards the window. "I told operations to resolve the employee issue." The employee issue. She was one payroll assistant making claims she could not fully prove. She identified 17 accounts. The auditors have now linked 3 of them to companies connected with Tayo. For the first time, Halima's composure broke, only in her eyes. But it broke. Dare continued. "You saw the words payroll manipulation and bid integrity. You sent the complaint back to the man it accused. I was trying to prevent unverified claims from damaging thousands of innocent employees. And what happened to the innocent employees whose wages were taken? I did not know the allegation was true. You did not investigate. That was compliance job. You prevented it from reaching compliance." Halima raised her voice. "Because every complaint cannot become a public crisis. Companies need judgment. We cannot destroy senior people each time one junior employee feels cheated." Dare stared at her. There it was, not confusion, not policy. A hierarchy of whose pain deserved urgency. He pressed the intercom. "Mrs. Danjuma, please come in." Halima's shoulders stiffened. Dare said, pending the audit, "You are relieved of authority over the communications department and all ethics-related records. You will surrender company devices today." "You are suspending me?" "Yes. For protecting your company. For deciding that its image mattered more than whether its workers were being robbed." Halima gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "Do not turn yourself into a saint. Dare. You approved the routing policy. You praised me whenever scandal disappeared. You wanted clean headlines as much as anybody." The words struck their target. Dare did not deny them. "You are right," he said. Halima blinked. "I approved it. I rewarded the silence. That is why this will not end with your suspension." Mrs. Danjuma entered. Dare looked at her. "Add my policy approvals and executive oversight failures to the board review." Halima stared at him as though he had changed language. Powerful people rarely volunteered evidence against themselves. Dare was not volunteering out of nobility. He was doing it because the alternative had become impossible to defend. Outside, the company's reputation was already cracking. Inside, the truth was only beginning to find its voice. The final figure reached Dare on a Thursday evening. Minor 84,760,000. That was the amount the forensic team could directly trace to unsupported payroll transfers, unauthorized deductions and diverted wages across 21 months. The number did not include interest, loan charges workers had incurred, or the private cost of evictions, missed treatment, and broken trust. Kohler placed the summary on Dare's desk. "We have enough for disciplinary findings and referral," he said. "Some elements require law enforcement powers beyond the company." "How many workers are affected?" 112 show direct loss. 63 appear in Ese's original schedules. Others were discovered later. "Can we repay them now?" "We can calculate undisputed amounts and place the rest in a protected claims process, but it must be independent. If management controls it, nobody will trust it." "Agreed." Kohler opened another file. There is also evidence that Marcus altered the lobby incident report after speaking with Halima. Dare's face hardened. What did he change? The first draft said Ese requested written acknowledgement and denied taking anything. The final draft said she demanded access to the chairman and implied she expected compensation. Why? He says Halima told him the report should reflect the security risk. And the edited video, exported from a communications workstation assigned to one of her senior staff. The staff member says he was instructed to prepare a short clip demonstrating why security intervened. Dare stood and walked to the window. The public humiliation had not been a moment of panic alone. Afterwards, people with salaries, offices, and authority had sat down and manufactured a version that made Ese look dangerous. Poverty had made her easy to accuse. Pregnancy had made her easy to patronize. Homelessness had made her easy to disbelieve. The wallet had been complete, yet they had still tried to steal her name. "We hold the hearing publicly," Dare said. Kohler studied him. "Publicly to whom?" "Workers, board representatives, labor officers, union observers, council and press. Evidence involving personal bank details will be protected, but the findings cannot disappear into one private board minute. You may expose the company to further claims." "The claims already exist." Dare looked at the report again. "Hiding them will not make the people whole." When Lola told Ese about the proposed hearing, Ese's first answer was no. "I have already been displayed once in that building." "You can give evidence remotely," Lola said, "or by written statement. You do not owe them your presence." Ese paced slowly across the meeting room. At 34 weeks, her back ached after standing too long. "What will happen if I do not go?" "The evidence continues. Tayo's case does not depend only on you now. And Halima? Her emails speak clearly." Ese stopped beside the window. "Then why do I feel like they still own the final picture of me?" Lola waited. Ese remembered the phones rising in the lobby, the notes at her feet, Marcus's hand on her arm, Halima calling her pregnancy a strategy. Every time the video appeared online, Ese saw herself bent over, trying to gather papers while strangers watched. She wanted the last public image to be different. "I will go." "She certain?" "No, but I will go." Uche helped her prepare in ways that had nothing to do with performance. They planned transport that would avoid long-standing. The maternity center provided a medical note and emergency contact. Lola explained each stage of questioning. Ese was told she could request a break at any time and could refuse questions unrelated to the investigation. She chose a teal dress from the center's clothing support room. It was simple, clean and comfortable. Uche found flat black shoes. Ese tied her light blue scarf carefully before the mirror. "You look ready," Uche said. Ese met her own eyes in the glass. "I do not feel ready." "Feeling ready is not a legal requirement." Ese smiled. The hearing began at 10 a.m. in the main conference hall of Williams Urban Logistics. The same building, the same polished floors, but not the same arrangement of power. An independent labor mediator sat at the center. Board audit members occupied one side. Worker representatives and counsel sat on the other. Journalists were placed behind a low barrier. Screens displayed redacted documents. Every witness was informed of the process and the consequences of false statements. Dare wore a bright cobalt suit with a white shirt. He did not sit on the stage. He sat in the first row beside the board, his notebook open. Tayo entered in charcoal and ruby red. He looked smaller than he had in his office. Halima arrived in emerald green. She held her shoulders high and did not look towards Ese. Marcus wore a steel gray suit and kept rubbing his palms together. At 10:17 a.m., the mediator called the first witness. Patience described the phone call. She asked whether she would receive confirmation after returning the wallet, Patience said. I told her yes. She did not ask to meet Mr. Williams. She did not ask for money. The full lobby recording played. On screen, Ese entered slowly, spoke to reception, and placed the wallet on the desk. Marcus approached. Halima arrived. The sound was clear. She brought pregnancy here so pity would cover her crime. A visible discomfort moved through the hall. The video continued. Ese asked for a receipt. Halima suggested settlement money. Marcus opened the bag. The antenatal papers fell. In the hearing room, Ese did not look away. Marcus was called next. His first answers were defensive. I acted on a perceived threat. What threat did Miss Nwosu make? The mediator asked. She possessed private property belonging to the chairman. Had she surrendered it? Yes. Did she attempt to leave with it? No. Did she resist security? No. Why was her bag searched in public? Marcus swallowed. Executive instruction. From whom? He looked at Halima. From Ms. Bello. Halima's lawyer shifted in his seat. The two versions of Marcus's report appeared on screen. Digital records showed the first had been saved at 10:26 a.m. The second was created at 1:12 p.m. after a 23-minute meeting with Halima. Why did you change it? Marcus's voice dropped. I was told the original did not explain the reputational context. Did Ms. Nwosu demand compensation? No. Did she demand private access to the chairman? No. Then your final report was false. Marcus looked down. Yes. A breath passed through the hall like wind. Halima sat very still. The payroll evidence came next. Kola explained the duplicate beneficiary accounts, the unauthorized deductions, and the companies linked to Tayo's relatives and associate. Charts showed how names changed, while account numbers stayed the same. Server logs showed Tayo entering the Apapa office after midnight and attempting to delete files. Tayo's lawyer objected repeatedly. The records remained. Then the recording from Lola's office was played. Tayo's voice filled the hall. Take Manta 4. 7 million and sign only the wallet statement. Say somebody handed it to you near CMS. A glass slipped from somebody's hand near the press seats. It struck the floor and cracked. Nobody laughed. Tayo leaned towards his lawyer. The lawyer whispered something back, but Tayo's face had already lost its color. When called, he denied stealing money. He described the transfers as operational adjustments. He blamed junior finance staff. He said some deductions were informal contributions agreed by workers. BC Adeyemi stood from the worker section. I never agreed, she said. The mediator asked her to wait until called, but 3 other workers were already shaking their heads. Tayo continued. Temporary labor is complex. Records are often incomplete. Kola displayed a company creation document for Harborview Supplies. The beneficial owner was Tayo's cousin. Payments from Metro Hall entered the account within 24 hours of wage schedules being approved. Tayo's confidence collapsed. He stopped answering directly. Halima was called after lunch. Her emails appeared on screen. She admitted receiving Easy's complaint. She admitted routing it away from compliance. She admitted contacting Tayo. I believed the allegation lacked sufficient proof, she said. The mediator asked, Did you ask the complainant for supporting documents? No. Did you ask compliance to assess it? No. Did you instruct operations to preserve records? No. What action did you take? I told Mr. Okoro to resolve the employee issue. Ese's lawyer stood. Ms. Bello, what did employee issue mean? It meant the dispute concerning Ms. Nwosu. 11 days later, she was dismissed. I did not order her dismissal. But when she appeared in the lobby, you knew she had previously reported payroll manipulation. Halima's eyes moved to Ese for the first time. Yes, you still called her a thief before checking any record. Halima's lips parted. No answer came, Lola continued. After the wallet was confirmed complete, did you apologize? I was managing an active crisis. After the full video was preserved, did you correct the public record? We issued a statement. A statement describing her as distressed. Did it say she had been invited? No. Did it say she returned every item? Not in those words. Did it say your accusation was unsupported? No. Lola paused. Miss Bello, were you protecting 6,000 jobs, or were you protecting the appearance that senior management could do no wrong? Halima's composure cracked. You people speak as though companies survive on feelings, she said. One unverified allegation can destroy years of work. Investors run, contracts disappear. Innocent staff suffer. Somebody has to protect the institution. Ese leaned towards Lola and whispered. Lola listened, then nodded. The mediator allowed Ese to respond. She rose slowly. The hall turned towards her. Ma, Ese said, you did not protect jobs. You protected the chairs upstairs with money taken from the people downstairs. Halima stared at her. Ese's voice remained steady. When my report reached you, I was not asking you to believe me because I was poor or pregnant. I gave account numbers, dates, employee codes. You did not test them. You sent me back to the man I reported. She looked around the hall. People like to say poor workers should speak up. But when we speak, they ask whether our voice is respectful enough, whether the timing is convenient, whether the company can survive the embarrassment. Nobody asks whether we can survive the silence. The room was completely still. Ese placed one hand on the table. I returned Mr. Williams's wallet because it was not mine. Tayo should have returned our wages for the same reason. The difference is that when a poor woman holds a rich man's money, security comes quickly. When a rich manager holds poor workers' money, people call it an accounting matter. Somebody in the worker section began to clap. The mediator raised one hand and the sound stopped, but the message had already landed. Ese sat. Dare's turn came last. He could have limited himself to the lobby incident. His lawyers had advised caution. Every admission could strengthen claims against the company. He took the oath and sat before the mediator. Did you know about the payroll manipulation before Ms. Nwosu returned your wallet? Noba. Did you approve the ethics routing policy that allowed reputation management to recategorize complaints? Yes. Did you read its full operational effect before approval? No. A murmur moved through the hall. Dare continued before the next question. I approved it with other policies during expansion. I relied on recommendations. That was my decision, and it was negligent. His counsel looked down. Did you reward executives for avoiding reputational crises? Yes. Did you ask whether silence was being produced through retaliation? No. Do you accept responsibility? Dare looked at the workers seated behind Ese. I accept that I built a company large enough for people to be harmed in my name without reaching me. I also built reporting lines that made protecting the image easier than protecting the worker. I did not order the theft. I did not order Miss Nwosu's dismissal. But leadership is not innocence by distance. He paused. I failed to see the people carrying this company. No music played, No one rushed forward to praise him. It was not a heroic moment. It was an admission that had come late. The findings were announced 3 days later. Tayo's employment was terminated for gross misconduct, attempted destruction of records, conflicts of interest, and involvement in unauthorized transfers. The company referred the financial evidence to the appropriate investigative authorities. A court application sought preservation of assets connected to the traced funds. He was not allowed to resign quietly. He did not leave with a farewell payment. Halima was removed from her executive position. The board found that she had suppressed a credible ethics report, interfered with the security record, and authorized misleading public communication. Her performance bonus tied to the transport bid was cancelled. Her conduct was referred for further legal review. Marcus lost his position, and the security contractor lost the Williams account after an independent review found repeated failures in public searches, record integrity, and treatment of vulnerable visitors. But punishment was not the only response. A compensation panel, independent of Williams' management, was established. It included labor representatives, forensic accountants, and legal observers. The panel began calculating unpaid wages, unlawful deductions, and interest. Emergency payments were prioritized for workers facing eviction or medical hardship. 112 workers received formal notices that their claims were recognized. 8 former employees, including Ese, were told their dismissals would be reviewed separately. The dead whistleblowing line was replaced by an external provider. Reports could no longer be intercepted by communications staff. Every contract worker would receive a payslip, a written deduction policy, and access to a representative during disciplinary proceedings. Managers' bonuses were changed. Low labor cost alone would no longer be rewarded. Wage accuracy, safety complaints, staff turnover, and verified retaliation findings would affect executive pay. DARE also announced 6 monthly contractor audits and direct worker forums where management could not pre-select questions. Then he addressed Ese's case. The company formally withdrew the theft allegation. It confirmed that no evidence had ever supported the claim. Her withheld salary was released with interest. Her legal costs and the medical expenses caused by the lobby incident were covered. A separate compensation process addressed wrongful dismissal, humiliation, and loss of housing. Halima was required to issue a public correction using the same channels through which the misleading statement had been distributed. She stood before cameras in a plain conference room. Her voice was controlled. Ms. Ese Nwosu returned Mr. Dare Williams's wallet voluntarily after contacting the company. All documented contents were complete. She did not demand money or private access. The earlier suggestion that she posed a security threat was unsupported. Her previous payroll complaint was credible and should have been investigated. Ese watched the recording at the transition center. She did not smile. Uche sat beside her. "You wanted the record corrected?" "Yes, how do you feel?" Ese thought for a long time, tired. That answer surprised Uche less than it surprised Ese. Justice did not erase what had happened. It did not return the nights spent afraid. It did not dry the papers that rain had destroyed. It did not make every insult disappear from memory. But it changed what the insult could become. It was no longer the final word. 3 weeks later, Ese gave birth at the community maternity center after an ordinary labor that lasted many hours and frightened her more than she admitted. Uche remained nearby. Lola visited the next day with fruit and a folder of documents Ese refused to open until she had slept. Dare did not enter the ward with cameras. He sent a handwritten card through Uche. It contained no check, no promise, only one sentence. Your child should grow up knowing that his mother protected people she could have abandoned. Ese read it twice, then placed it inside her bag beside the wallet acknowledgement. She named her son Samuel. He remained outside the public dispute. No photographs were released. No company campaign used his face. Ese insisted on that boundary, and Dare respected it. The compensation agreement was completed 6 weeks later. It gave Ese enough to secure a modest flat, replace basic belongings, and keep emergency savings. The housing program continued for 1 year, so she would not be forced to spend the settlement immediately on rent. Dare offered her a position in corporate compliance. Ese declined. They met in Lola's office, not his. "I am not refusing work," she explained. "I am refusing a reward job." "You are qualified. Then let a proper process prove it." Dare nodded. "Fair. I do not want people saying I returned 1 wallet and collected an office. People will talk whatever happens." "Yes. But my own record should be clean." 3 months after Samuel's birth, an external recruitment firm advertised a new role: Community Compliance Liaison. The position required payroll knowledge, worker interview experience, documentation skills, and understanding of retaliation risks. Ese applied. She sat for the assessment with 14 other candidates. She completed a payroll case study, wrote a complaint handling plan, and faced a panel that included no Williams executive. When the offer came, it was not delivered by Dare. It arrived by email from the recruitment firm. Ese read it in her new 1-bedroom flat while Samuel slept in a cot beside her. She had ranked first. She accepted. Her work did not begin with speeches. It began with payslips. Ese Nwosu developed a program called the Open Payslip Project. It taught contract workers how to compare scheduled hours with paid hours, identify deductions, preserve messages, request written reasons, and seek independent help. The program was funded by Williams Urban Logistics, but governed by a separate advisory group. The company could not edit training materials or remove uncomfortable findings. At the first workshop, 42 workers attended. Ese stood before them in an amber jacket and light blue blouse. She held up a sample payslip. "Do not be ashamed to ask what every line means," she said. "Confusion is expensive when somebody benefits from it." She taught them to keep copies outside the workplace, to photograph signed documents, to avoid signing blank timesheets, to write down dates after verbal threats, to seek medical and legal support early when retaliation affected housing or pregnancy. She also told them something most training programs avoided. "Reporting can carry risk," she said. "So plan. Know who can house you for a night. Keep emergency contacts. Save small amounts when possible. Do not face management alone if you can bring a representative. Courage is useful. Preparation keeps courage alive." Workers listened because she did not speak from a polished handbook. She spoke from the floor of the lobby. Dare changed too, though not in one dramatic day. Twice every quarter, he visited live operations under his real name. Workers knew who he was. Managers could not select questions in advance. Meeting notes went directly to the board audit committee. At the first forum, a driver asked why executives received bonuses while vehicles waited months for repairs. At the second, a cleaner asked why outsourced staff used different clinic coverage. At the third, somebody asked whether Dare would resign if another major retaliation case occurred. He answered each question publicly, sometimes badly, sometimes defensively. Then he learned to listen before explaining. 1 year after the wallet fell open, Ese returned to the main lobby for the annual worker accountability meeting. The orchids were gone. The enormous promotional wall had been replaced by a board displaying wage repayment figures, unresolved claims, and audit deadlines. Ese paused at the exact place where her papers had scattered. The marble looked unchanged. She did not. Her amber jacket stood bright against the pale floor. Her light blue blouse matched the scarf folded inside her handbag. Around her neck hung an employee card carrying her own name and photograph. Not visitor, not distressed woman, not suspected thief. Ese Nwosu, Community Compliance Liaison. Dare approached in a cobalt suit, carrying a file instead of a speech. 418 workers trained, he said. You exceeded the target. Ese took the file. No, training is not the same as protection. We still have 12 unresolved retaliation complaints. I know. The northern contractor has not issued corrected payslips. I know that too. Then do not congratulate us yet. Dare smiled slightly. You have not become easier. I was never employed to be easy. They walked towards the conference room. At the door, Dare stopped. The wallet I lost that morning had money, cards, and my mother's photograph, he said. But what I had truly lost was the ability to see what was happening beneath my own name. Ese looked through the glass at the workers gathering inside. Good thing truth does not need an access card to enter a building, she said. She tapped her employee card against the reader. The light turned green. The door opened. He stepped through first. Some people would later say that finding a billionaire's wallet changed her life. That was the simple version, the comfortable version. It made everything sound like luck meeting kindness on one rainy morning. But the wallet did not create Ese's honesty. It only exposed it. Dare's money did not give her dignity. It had been hers even when she slept behind a canteen, even when her dress was stained, even when strangers raised phones instead of helping her gather papers. What changed her life was not charity thrown down from a high floor. It was evidence preserved. Wages returned, a false accusation withdrawn, safe housing offered without ownership, work earned through a fair process, a system forced to recognize that the people at the bottom were not numbers carrying somebody else's success. And that was the lesson the building could no longer hide. A person's condition may change overnight. Her value does not. A human being does not become less truthful because she is homeless. She does not become less deserving of procedure because her clothes are worn. Pregnancy is not an invitation to pity, insult, or control. Poverty is not evidence of crime. Respect is not what powerful people give after cameras begin recording. Respect is the rule they follow before anybody important is watching.